here in Europe, we deal more with the Islamification of a continent. What's going on in America in terms of the southern border is different, but there are, of course, parallels to that. I mean, is Joe Biden, I think I know the answer to this, but is Joe Biden doing enough to deal with what's going on at the southern border? I mean, what is really happening there?
You know, there's no question that the Democrats had some initiative to allow as many immigrants over the border as possible. I think in the long run, what they wanted to do, and I had been speculating this for years, because it was very strange that they were so outraged by the idea of having border security in the first place, that there were calls to abolish ICE, calls to defund ICE and to defund all capabilities of these immigration groups that are trying to protect us, to protect our border, of course, as a nation. If you don't have borders, then you are not a nation, right? You have to have those protections set into place. It's abundantly obvious. And so I had been saying for years, what's happened is that I think that the left is sort of losing the wars. Culturally, I think that they have lost a grip on the typical political groups that they tend to have locked down, chief among them being Black Americans. And I felt that they were trying to import almost a new class of victims and then offer them government handouts in the same way that they did to Black Americans in the 1960s, which sort of married us to the Democrat Party. And I have watched that play out, and now they've got millions and millions and millions being that are now being pushed into inner city communities. And I think that is the ultimate goal. They're going to say, let's wave a magic wand, turn them all into citizens, and give them the capacity to vote. And then we're going to go to them and we're going to offer them handouts. And these people are going to be guaranteed voters for Democrat Party. Now, you could say that's conspiracy. I think it makes perfect sense because nothing else does make sense. Why would you want this? Why would you want this invasion on the border? There's no checks. There's no balances. We don't know who's coming in. There could be terrorists coming in. We don't even know if they're from South America. People are taking flights and going down there and walking over the border, and they're turning a blind eye to this at the same hypocritical time that they are telling us, Americans, that we absolutely must help Ukraine defend their border, that we absolutely must help Israel defend their border. You're telling us that we have no right to defend ours. Very mixed messaging going on, and people are frustrated by it.
Yeah, taxpayers in this country where I am now and in your country have been bankrupted because of the preservation of another country's borders, while simultaneously our borders are just wide open. And shock horror, when we look at what's happening at the moment with Israel and Gaza and Hamas over there, it turns out that we have imported loads of people in this country who absolutely do not share our values, and given the first opportunity would take to the streets and talk about jihad and all of this. And people are surprised at this. People were saying you did this ages ago. But look, we'll move on from that slightly now, because I don't understand what a sanctuary city is, okay? I'm remarkably uncultured. I need you to educate me about this. Is New York full? Do sanctuary cities work? What's going on?
Well, New York City sure thought it was going to work on paper when they were shouting, "We are a sanctuary city." And then conservatives said, "Okay, fine, let's send you busloads of these migrants and see how you like it." And now suddenly they're changing their tune and they're going, "Oh, yeah, it's one of those things that the idea, it sounded good on paper to say that we are a place where you can have a sanctuary. As many migrants can come here as possible. We'll deal with the influx. There's going to be no punishment here if you come to this city. We're not going to be sending you back to DHS or sending you back down." And so what happened is they arrived on buses and suddenly they're saying, we don't have the infrastructure to support these busloads of migrants. It is changing our city. It is absolutely something that we can't deal with. We have hotels that are filled to the max. The taxpayer can't afford to support this. Imagine that. That's kind of what I say about the left. It's all of these fruity, floaty ideas that look nice on paper. Everything's going to be free. We're all going to live magically. Different cultures are just going to come together. There's going to be butterflies and there's going to be sprinkles. And then they are met with the truth. They are met with reality, and they realize this doesn't work. This is actually why we need more stern laws. This is why we want these laws put in place in general. And so it has been glorious to see the reaction of places like Martha's Vineyard. Oh my gosh, the leftist elites who preach to us about how we need to be welcoming and how quickly they kick those migrants out of Martha's Vineyard. It's been glorious to see Eric Adams do a complete 180. That's the mayor of New York, for your listeners that are watching, do a complete 180 and say that we don't have the capacity to support this, and it is changing the dynamics of our city. Yeah, that's the point, buddy. This was never about racism or xenophobia. It was about practicality and what actually works.
Absolutely. It's about infrastructure. When we're looking around now in this country, we wonder why there's a massive housing crisis, and we welcome something like 1.2 million new people to this tiny island. every single year. Why can't I get a doctor's appointment? Oh gosh, why is everything so full? Why haven't we got school places? Why are the roads so much busier? Well, the answer is staring you right in the face, and it comes from people who think that mass uncontrolled immigration, I describe it as a Ponzi scheme. It's a giant immigration Ponzi scheme that we're all being forced to live in now, and people just think that's great. Our Conservative Party here is saying that they're going to remove some of these asylum seeker hotels from their own constituencies and put them maybe in other people's constituencies. A bit of the Martha's Vineyard about